it is the Jivan CBR, Center for Biomedical Research Fellowship. So one has to have fellows to have a fellowship. And so we put out the call in Africa for fellows. And there were about 40 responses to our call for fellows. And one application, just one, truly stood out in our eyes. And that was Dr. Margaret's. When we read her application, Tom's eyes, my eyes simply lit up. She was exactly the person that we wanted. And not for a second did she disappoint us. And in fact, because of the pandemic, she was able to stay with us 3 months longer than the typical fellowship was established for, which was a 3-month period to come to the United States and work and collaborate with our scientists at the Population Council. So we were able to hold on to Margaret for about 6 months. And so if there's any value at all to a pandemic, that was our value. We could have her for 6 months. And during the time that she was with us, she made so many valuable contributions working with Population Council scientists. And perhaps for me, one of the valuable contributions was to express an interest in having a GMP, Good Manufacturing Practices Laboratory, on site at her university. And because that has been my life, formulation development, pharmacy, working under GMPs, which are regulations not only of the FDA and NAFDAC, but probably every significant regulatory body in the world. Her vision and my vision as well came together beautifully. It was a marriage, if you will. And so we began to consider what it would take to establish a GMP facility at the Faculty of Pharmacy. I knew that this was not going to be easy. Margaret knew. I knew that this would cost a good bit of money. Margaret knew that too. I don't know if any of us realized exactly what it would cost. I knew that I looked around for funding. I guess looked around for funding doesn't sound quite right, but I explored opportunities for funding, and quite honestly, there were none. There was no USAID money. There was no money that was coming from Gates. So what I did was establish MEDAFRICA Foundation. And to this day, I am the only funder for the laboratory. I do other things through MEDAFRICA. I support a trafficking project in Ethiopia, and I have a fellowship in Kenya that I support. So the foundation has been extremely valuable, and perhaps it is my legacy as I kind of wind down my years. I'm most proud of what Margaret has done at the university. This facility will fulfill every goal that I had, every goal that she and I have. And so I'm absolutely thrilled to be a part of this. Margaret, by the way, is one of 3 fellows that we've had in the Jivan CBR Fellowship. Sunday Okafor and Gillian from South Africa have been our second 2 fellows. Margaret is clearly our star. I must congratulate the speaker who mentioned FabTech in India. They've been excellent support for this laboratory. I must acknowledge too, gratefully, Mr. Ray Rubio, who is our quality assurance, quality control, and planner for all of what is happening with Margaret. Margaret, that Ray now is Margaret's key person in contact, and he is with the foundation as well. So I'm thrilled to be a part of this. So happy. The fellowship was established to promote collaborative research between Africa and the United States. And already we are well on the way to that. So I congratulate Margaret and everyone else that's been involved with this facility. And I commit to staying till it's completed and continuing to fund it. And so all my best to you, and I hope to see you in a few months. Thank you.
Let's have another round of applause for Marty. Javen.
Thank you.
Permission of the Vice Chancellor again, I want to quickly recognize a few people who have just come in again. First and foremost, let me state unequivocally that we have in our midst Mr. Chukwemeka Ilomuanya, the spouse of our star researcher. And I hope Marty is seeing you. Thanks for coming. We appreciate you. Also want to quickly recognize pharmacist Lanre Madei, FPSN, the National Secretary of PSN is in here. Okay, you're welcome, sir. You're welcome. Also want to quickly recognize the Provost of College of Medicine was with us when we were doing the pre-conference activities. You know, he stayed all throughout when they went into the GMP lab and all of the activities that were done there. Just want to quickly recognize Professor David Adewale Oke. He was very supportive all through that session. Thank you very much. Also want to recognize pharmacist Lanre Familusi, FPSN, former chairman, PSN Lagos, and also member of the, also current current secretary of the Board of Fellows of PSN. You're welcome, sir. While the current event is going on, thank you very much. Let me quickly invite up to the podium before the citation of the keynote, the president of PSN, Professor Cyril Osifo, for his own word to this August assembly convoking in May. Please let's appreciate our Vice Chancellor as she has to take her leave of this audience at this time. Thank you very much, Ma.
Behind a successful woman is a formidable man. I hope you agree with me. We want to thank Madam Vice Chancellor for coming to grace the occasion. Madam Vice Chancellor in absentia and all other guests. But I want to make a very quick remark that Professor Lucian Chukwu is the only blessed man among females in the management team. He must be a strong man to be among the females. Also in pharmacy, we can see here that there's Professor Gloria Ayola and Dr. Margaret Ilomuanya as well. So the females are also leading very well. But I must say, following the footsteps of Madam Vice Chancellor, I would like to brag that Dr. Ilomuanya is the immediate past editor-in-chief of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria. And I'm happy that it's happening during my time as I leave office in 6 months' time. It couldn't have been better. I want to encourage us to toe the line of my big brother, Sir Ike Onyechi, for taking up the challenge I remember during the colloquium and effortlessly made sure that the issue of energy is properly addressed in this project. We want to thank you, just like Madam Vice Chancellor has acknowledged you. We're acknowledging everybody here. Let's contribute in whatever way we can to make sure that this project, after 15 months, will continue to thrive and will become the pride of not only of Lagos, but the pride of Africa. I want to say that women, if you give them responsibility, they definitely will deliver. And I can see that anyone who wants to succeed, agree with your spouse and you will succeed much better. You may disagree, but I can say with all reference that it's true. If you don't agree with them, you have more troubles at home. Is it not so? My late professor used to teach me in Ife, 1 wife, many problems. 2 wives, catastrophe. If you have 3 wives, you're already in the grave. So the choice is yours. That's a little bit on a lighter mode. But I want to say with all honesty that it's a good thing we are gathered together and we continue to ask that more successes will be hers as she work in this area. I want to, as an academic person, the future starts today. Whatever she has achieved, like I always told her, just see it as a starting point. But there are a lot of frontiers, a lot of things to meet in future. And I believe she will definitely do the best. Thank you very much.
I want to quickly invite Dr. Bukola Oseni for the citation of the keynote speaker.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. May I request that our keynote speaker kindly stand while I take the citation? Thank you, sir. Professor Olobayo Olufunso Kunle is a researcher with over 35 years experience, beginning with his pioneering work in determining the formation behavior of plant extracts to produce tablets and their effects on the deformation characteristics of a number of tableting excipients. He has contributed substantially to the literature on drug dosage formulation and material properties. He has also engaged in efforts to provide raw materials for the pharmaceutical industry using locally available raw materials. He has published about 100 papers in various journals on this and other areas of pharmaceutics and drug development. He was a pioneer member of staff of National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development, NIPRID, where he set up the Department of Pharmaceutics. As one of the earliest academics whose career has been largely in research, he has had the opportunity to gain experience in a number of laboratories around the world, both in the universities and industry. He coordinated the studies on niprisan, the first medicinal product to be wholly developed locally to commercialization stage in Nigeria. Please a round of applause for our keynote speaker. He coordinated the studies on niprisan from laboratory studies up to clinical trials. He was responsible for ensuring the smooth scale-up of its production and produced the first commercial batch of the drug. He has since then led the investigation of 3 other candidates up to clinical trial stage. He had hands-on experience in industrial drug production as the production manager of Nipco Pharmaceuticals Limited. He also spent time in Alembic Pharmaceuticals, an integrated pharmaceutical company in India, which is engaged in API synthesis and the production of a wide range of dosage forms, along with a well-developed research and development laboratory. He is experienced in policy formulation, serving on a number of government committees, including the Presidential Committee on the Pharmaceutical Sector, Committees on Health Sector Reforms, and Investigation Committee of the Kano-Trovan clinical trials, whose report led to landmark changes in clinical trial regulation internationally. He also served on the governing boards of some agencies, including NAFDAC and the PCN. He was an expert for the production of the Nigerian Pharmacopoeia, which published the maiden edition of the Nigerian Herbal Pharmacopoeia. He was also a member of the Committee of Experts appointed by the West African Health Community to produce the first West African Herbal Pharmacopoeia. He is professor in the Department of Pharmaceutical Technology and Raw Materials Development and member of the top management committee of NIPRID Abuja. He was for over 10 years the chairman of the Institute's Research and Development Programs Committee, which has the responsibility of formulating, implementing, and monitoring the Institute's research and development activities. He is presently a member repertoire of the WHO Regional Advisory Committee on Traditional Medicines for COVID-19, alternate lead of the Research Functional Group of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, and chairman of NIPRID Tax Team on COVID-19. He was acting Director General of NIPRID, in which role he ensured the accreditation of some of the Institute's laboratories to ISO 17025. He was most recently the Chief of Staff at the Standards Organization of Nigeria, in which role he commenced the efforts towards the accreditation of some of the scopes in the National Meteorological Institute. In addition, he ensured the retention and expanded accreditation of scopes in the SON laboratories in line with ISO 17025. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me with a round of applause in welcoming our keynote speaker, Professor Olobayo Kunle. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. And thank you for getting the name correctly. So many times it's Olubayo, it's Olabayo. You got it right, Olobayo. Distinguished pharmacists, professors, and colleagues, I am greatly humbled to have this opportunity to fill this role as guest speaker at this very, very important event. I am honored to have this opportunity to make a presentation before people, individuals, and personalities that I respect very, very much. This is one university that has indirectly contributed substantially to who I am today. I owe a lot of my grounding and finishing as an academic to Professor Aren Nasipuri, who was a pioneer staff of this faculty and in this university. And of course, I've also had the opportunity to work with quite a number of people here who have helped to make me the balanced person that I am. the Sir Ike might not know it, but there are ways he's contributed substantially. And of course, the PSM president, a colleague and a friend, and the publisher of Pharma News. Today I have, as he said, about 100 papers, but my first publication was in Pharmacy World Journal. And it was not just a publication. It took everything to get that paper out because it had been rejected in India, because it had been rejected in the United States. I was told to publish it in a place that was relevant to the content of the work, which was really basically Nigeria. And the only place I could find was Pharmacy World Journal. And that publication, I needed it. At that time, ABU was transiting. They were still employing pharmacists as graduate assistants. I needed that one publication to be regraded as an assistant lecturer. And so it was so critical to me. It was like my life depended on it. And so the fact that you published Pharmacy World Journal, sir, is probably one of the reasons I'm standing here today. That's local raw material, local publication. Thank you very much. And somehow, the University of Lagos seems to get me to come back. I'm experiencing the third dean. Professor Gloria Ajayi brought me the first time. Professor Adepoju Bello was the link person who kept sending me mails. Then she became dean. I came. Now, Professor Gloria Ayola is here. Come again. Is there a connection? Maybe. Yeah. But like I always say, I'm a father of girls. So maybe there's something about these female deans recognizing something. So I'm campaigning for the next dean to be, I didn't say so. Now, if you doubt that, go to page 3 of this book, and you will see that Lagos, University of Lagos, if you have any lady you want to teach what women should do and what they should become, send the person to University of Lagos. Now, I hope my presentation, okay, great. But before I proceed, let me say something about Margaret. I met her for the first time, I think about 7 or 8 years ago at OOU Shagam. I was doing a sabbatical there, and there was a NAPA conference. You know NAPA, those who know NAPA, in those days. And by the way, I made a lot of references in my first paper to the work by now Professor Iguilo, but the name I kept seeing was, I think, Erono. And I thought it was a foreigner. Who is this Japanese who works on Nigerian plants? But thank God I built my foundation there. But I met her there. It was at OOU. At that time, the national chairman of NAPA was not in the country. I think he was on some training or sabbatical in Japan. And so the conference, the turnout was appalling. And Margaret came. She came along with another academic from this faculty. And I think there were probably only 4 of them who were present to present their papers. I was asked to chair the session. The audience, you want to guess? I don't think we counted 10 people. But Margaret presented the same way you would present to an international conference of 1,000 people in attendance, with the same vibrance, with the same zeal, with the same seriousness. And she was cheerful all through. That is the impression I always had of her. And in every interaction I've had with her, it's been the same way, same outcome. And I can then understand why, in spite of the various challenges on her way, she still got to where she is today. Well done, Margaret. Now, this is a tough job to do. And it got tougher with every minute as it got closer to the time to present this paper. Because the question really is, what do you want to talk about? Who are you talking to? Are you talking to experts? Are you talking to those who do not understand very much? Are you talking to people who are policymakers? And seeing the diverse audience today, I now understand the ultimate difficulty. I had a presentation all worked out by the time I landed here yesterday. Then I spent about 2 hours with Margaret. I walked around, she took me around the GMP facility, and I asked myself, these guys know everything. What do you want to tell them? Because, I mean, GMP, this is GMP for real. I mean, that is one takeaway this university has. You beat all of us to it. We talk GMP in theory, you have GMP right here. So some of the things I say here may sound pedestrian to some of you because you have seen it, but I also understand that the core thing here is to make a case. Is to make a case for the collaboration between academia and industry. And I suspect that one of the reasons I'm here is because I'm one of those academics in Nigeria who has not spent the major part of his career teaching. Yes, I teach, but I've done a lot more research. And by my location in NIPRID over the years, I've had more opportunity to interface with my friends in the industry, both here and in other countries. And also, because of some international engagements and opportunities I've had the opportunity to visit quite a number of facilities. And so I guess I have a fairly decent view of what it takes to interface. And I'm going to avoid the temptation that most of us Nigerians have, where we look at the problems first. No, I will spend a good part of my time looking at what is doable, especially given what we now have on ground here. And of course, there'll be one or two slides that will highlight what I think might be roadblocks in the process of doing this. So please take what I have from your own perspective. If it's pedestrian, forgive me. If it educates you, good. But I think on the whole, I would have opened up a conversation that can go on and on far beyond this room. Next slide, please. I deliberately put this slide. I tend to try to start from first principles because I realize that we make assumptions. For those who are postgraduate students here, for example, think about it. Has anybody ever defined research for you? I mean, we just take it for granted. What are you doing? I'm doing research. I'm doing a project. What is research? What are you actually looking for? Which I think sometimes is the reason why some of our students, after finishing their masters and sometimes these days, unfortunately, even finishing the PhD, can't go beyond their thesis. For the next 20 years, they are publishing around the thesis, the same kind of work, no matter how outdated it becomes, because they probably did not get the concepts of research in general so that they can develop new concepts. And that is it there. You do it every day, but you probably have not put it into words like this. So that is what research is. It's just creative, systematic work. You want to increase the stock of knowledge, and you are collecting information, and that is why we are also always concerned about bias and error. That is the difference between research and just collecting information, or gisting, as we call it in Nigeria. Next slide, please. So having established what research in general is, remember, I kept looking at the topic, academia, industry. A lot of these slides will deal more with academia because I thought that was the audience we had. But then eventually I will mention one or two things that will be of interest to the industry. So what is academic research? I like that statement because it kind of contextualizes what we do as academics. If we pretend for a moment that we are not interested in product development, we just enjoy ourselves, really. That's what we do as academics. And that's what that guy said. He's the father of the space, the whole space area in the United States. And he says basic research is what I'm doing when I don't know what I'm doing. So you just do something. You're on your way to work, something crosses, one goat crosses the road before you get here. And it just sparks an interest. And you come to work and do something about it. That is research. That's what we do in academia. Of course, it's the same thing, it's research, but I've highlighted those points in red. It is to establish facts or principles. It is to contribute to knowledge. And all you want to do is publish it, inquiry or investigation, and proper communication of the findings. You just do that. Now, sometimes, for those of us who are academics, you are here in the university, you are teaching, postgraduate students are coming, you are producing more and more of them. Let us be honest with ourselves. Ordinarily, you don't wake up in the morning trying to develop a product. And I think it's important to make this point to our friends here in the pharmaceutical sciences, where we understand ourselves very well. Suddenly, you think, I should have a product. It's not going to work, because that was not your mindset when you started research. It takes purposeful. Again, it says there, purpose-driven. Many of us as academics, and to be fair to us, that is our job. Our job is just to do research. One of my friends calls it blue sky research. You just wake up in the morning and ask yourself, why is the sky blue? And you research, and you publish. But then if you get midway in why is the sky blue and decide that you now want to make ice, you confuse yourself. Because you will neither make ice, nor will you find out why the sky is blue. So we need to ask ourselves what we really need to do as academics to engage in product development. It's not enough to try to mix it up with what we do as academics. I will get to slides where we will see the overlap. But the point I want to make is that it has to be purpose-driven. I was having a chat with Margaret yesterday, and I told her, talking to you reminds me of a number of my friends in the United States, academics. When you sit down with them, 90% of the conversation is about the project they are doing, either for one company or the other. If I sit down with my colleagues here, we're talking about these naughty students, these difficult students, this marking that I have to do. We are not going to achieve the same objective if that mindset does not change. Now, I appreciate that it is not enough for any particular researcher to sit here and change that mindset, because, like it or not, by next year, I want to hear that Margaret is Professor Margaret Ilomuanya. And the only way that this university, like many other universities, will do that is with her publishing. Maybe her work with MEDAFRICA will score her some points. I'm sure every school has that score, but that is not what is going to make her a professor. So every academic wants to publish so that you grow in your career. And that is why for now, my hypothesis is senior academics, associate professors and professors, they have that luxury now to retune. You've made your points. You can publish 100 papers. Anybody who can publish 60 papers can publish 150. So we know you can do it. The point now is, what do you do with that knowledge? Let the younger people keep publishing to get their promotion until we find a way of compensating people adequately for developing products. And I think that's another job that the most senior academics need to address. How do we encourage researchers to go into product development and still grow in their careers? While that is a fairly mid-term thing, the short term is that the professors should find a way of pivoting and spending their time on product development. Mindset first, not the lab first, mindset. Because you must start product development research as product development research, not accidental. Next slide, please. So, like I said, academic research, you want to make new discovery. In the course of making your new discovery, you are getting new information with which you can improve your teaching and improve the quality of the students who come out. And again, when you are looking at problems, you want to identify facts and opinions. And then maybe eventually you propose a solution to a problem. Next slide, please. Now, industrial research, it is different. It is not different in terms of what it aims to, how it is done. Research is research, the same rigor. In fact, I think I got to India, it was my first visit to India, where I realized that a PhD does not necessarily need to become a lecturer. My mindset was, as soon as you went for a PhD, you are going to become a lecturer. But in those countries, and I eventually found out in the developed world too, PhDs, 65% of them go into the industry to do research for product development. So in the case of industrial research, it is science to create new products. Remember, contrast it with what we said earlier in academics. It is for developing new products, acquisition of new knowledge and skills for developing new products, processes, and services. You want to improve an existing product significantly, or you want to answer the requirements of the operational units. What we mean here is the unit that is in charge of tablet coating reports a problem. The research laboratory in that industry is not going to wake up and start doing work on developing new coating methods. It needs to solve the problem that that batch, that process has at that point. So it's a very targeted work that is meant to answer requirements. And I tell you, sometimes maybe I will be jumping in and out. I recall just, and I'm glad that we have representatives from industry here, especially EMZO. EMZO has been a pace setter. When we started NIPRID, recall, the NIPRID was set up to be a bridge between the universities and the industry. That was the original concept. So we envisioned ourselves as the laboratory of the industry. So what we expected was our friends in the university, as they make their laboratory discoveries, the promising ones will come to NIPRID. And then we will tell the industry, we have this here, and we polish it up to the point where the industry might be interested in picking it up. That was the agenda for NIPRID. Unfortunately, the reality was that we were not getting inflow from the universities, from academics. Maybe they didn't know what we were doing. And then we also were not getting any demand from the industry end. And so we now created a system for ourselves where we engaged in primary research, and eventually we found out that the easiest research and the easiest products to develop were herbal products. And that's why today you hear more of herbal products in NIPRID. NIPRID was not originally set up purely for herbal products. It's pharmaceuticals. Now, coming back to the issue of EMZO. EMZO was one of the very few companies, EMZO, and I remember Mopsin. They were the two companies that ever challenged NIPRID with anything in the first 15 years or so of our existence. And I used to attend meetings of PMG Man on behalf of NIPRID, so I'm familiar with a lot of my friends. At that time, we wanted to formulate ACTs. That was when ACTs had just come. And EMZO challenged us. It did not want to buy the technology. It wanted to give an opportunity for homegrown development of getting those two components together, especially with the risk of hydrolysis. I mentioned this because they were trying to make a significant improvement. It was an existing product. They were trying to create something using homegrown technology. Of course, we did not deliver. We could not deliver. How much time do I have? Oh, that's all right. We could not deliver because we didn't have, if I look back now, we didn't have the capacity. Eventually, EMZO has its products, which became very popular. So this was a case of an academic research lab challenged with an academic, with an industrial research project. And because at that time, we had not yet found the balance, we could not deliver. So I'm using this to illustrate the difference and the challenges you can face if you do not prepare before you engage. Next slide. You subtract the slide change time from my time. So it's about product development. Oh, the spelling here is not very correct. It's about product development. That is the purpose. And so I just thought to mention, what is product development? The conversion of science into a useful product with commercial value. So if there is no commercial value, no product, that's not what we're talking about here. And it could be to modify existing products or to create a new product. Now, product development combines the totality. Research, development, whatever you call it, they are all subsets. Product development is a long process, including, that's why if you are developing products, you also talk to the people who are marketing, you want to hear from the potential consumers and all of those. That was just a by the way. Let's move to the next one, please. Well, illustrating it. Sometimes when you've just learned to do arts, you put all kinds of arts in your presentation. Let's go. So let's position R&D correctly. It is just the first step in product development. I want to emphasize this because, again, those of us on the side of academia, let us contextualize our contribution. We are just joining in taking the first step in what is a long drawn-out process. And there are many skills and capacities. So again, in engaging with the industry, as we prepare to collaborate with the industry, a little dose of humility will do. Because when you are here, you are professor. You say it and it's done. Especially in the Nigerian system, very few people talk back at us. To engage with the industry, you need to adjust the mindset. You are just part of a process. And that part of the process is actually not that much of a percentage. It is critical, very critical, but it is part of a process. Let's go. Well, just to illustrate, what does academia bring to the table? Innovation, flexibility. You know, we are daring. You just think it and you try it. Novelty. And then we drill down. We can spend years on one particular thing that interests us. These are the assets, in my personal experience, that we bring. Next slide, please. Industry, focus. Schedule, time. Like Margaret has come to realize, dealing with the industry. It's all or none for them. You either meet the deadline or it's gone. Then regulatory compliance. If you are doing research, you don't care what NAFDAC thinks. But if you are going to work with the industry, you must care what NAFDAC thinks, everything. Cost effectiveness. You cannot just keep changing your mind every day. You bought one HPLC column. Oh no, I've just discovered another method. We'll buy another HPLC column. It doesn't work that way. And that is why sometimes you have challenges with funders. Then, of course, manufacturing experience. So what I've just done is to highlight what each party brings to the table. The fine boy, fine girl thing. No? So now, let's compare. Research is research, whether industrial or academic. So the difference is the purpose. Why are you doing it? For you, you just want to, the hypothesis, null hypothesis confirmed, null hypothesis nullified. You get your PhD, you publish your paper. But industrial research wants new knowledge leading to new products or improved products. That affects design. So right from the design stage, so it's not a completed work that you collaborate on, because right from the design stage, you need to collaborate. Next slide. Yeah, I picked this up from some reference material, but what I wanted to highlight is there's some kind of grading. This was developed in the US space program, but it has become, it's been adopted throughout industries now. It's called technology readiness level. And it is all about from concept to product. 9 stages. So you can determine at any point the level of readiness by knowing which category it belongs. Next slide. So if you recall what I just showed, the last slide, in academia, especially at our level in Nigeria, most of what we do is TRL1, basic. So if we were to stop, and that is why most of our work will not get to the market. Sometimes we can go to 2, and hardworking, exceptional guys, like some I have met here, will go up to 3. But companies, investors, industry, usually is looking from 4 and above. So you can imagine if you are stopping at 1 in your faculty, or NIPRI pushes it up to 2, Industry is waiting at 4. There is that gap. And that is why, in my opinion, a lot has not happened in spite of the very hard work that our academics have put into it. So let's go to the next slide. There's a disconnect. We need to collaborate for the disconnect to go. Next. And so, in collaborating, what are the things that we can bring to the table? Recall, academia, innovation, flexibility, and then industry helps to keep your focus. And it also brings you manufacturing experience. A lot of what you do on your table in the lab will not translate into product, even if we scale it up from where it is. And that is why you have pilot plants and all of those. It's a lot of work. So, but the manufacturing experience from the industry can help you to reduce time loss. Next. Next, please. So, what should be the purpose? Simple. We all want to develop medicines. All of us, my friends in academia, want to develop medicines. Everybody wants to be associated with success. I've heard Margaret say up to 3 times today, and the product is in the market. I mean, as I wind down too in my career, the high point of my career is nipresan. Because if you go to a pharmacy today, you will find nipresan there. I don't get a kobo for it. The people in the pharmacy, in fact, I buy for people now. Nobody knows who I am. But they don't know how happy I am to pay for that product. So all of us want to develop products. And I'm sure the industry wants to receive our work for it to become products. So we need to find a way of ensuring that our work, formulation, new products, whatever it is, become products. And the truth is that ordinarily more of these come from industrial research labs. But unfortunately, the level of development we are in today, our industry research is not that strong. And that gives us an opportunity in academia to go beyond labs that are just sitting there and waiting for students when they are on holiday, it is empty. We can retune those labs to work as industrial research labs if we have the right projects. Next. I need to move faster now. Next. Yes, so industry and academia must speak one language. I mean, if there's this joke about a guy who is winking at himself in the dark. You have this girl you like and you are standing in the dark, you are not talking to her, you are not seeing her, and you keep winking at her, and you are in the dark. So no work done, right? Now, for academia and industry not to wink at themselves in the dark, they must speak the same language. By the way, I didn't wink in the dark. My wife is a pharmacist. I met her in school, so I was winking in the light. Now, the procedures and processes in both phases must align. What will make it align? That is where GMP comes. That is where you put on the light in the room and we know that you want to achieve something. That is where you are talking and you are communicating. Next. So that is how GMP comes into this whole process. And I'm going to skip the details of GMP. It's been mentioned, and you can go and see the new facility, and you will know that GMP is there. Next one, please. Again, I will skip this. It highlights the key issues in GMP, but it's one of those things, like I said, that you have taken care of. So in R&D, because quite honestly, when you think of R&D, you think of GLP, not GMP. But why is GMP relevant in R&D? This schematic shows that it is relevant. The degree of relevance, of course, increases as you move closer to the end of the process. That is a commercial manufacturing process. But there is no zero on the y-axis. There is relevance. Next, please. Why do we need CGMP in our lab, in the facility we have here? Why do we have it? It is necessary because, especially like the kind of work that is going on in this lab presently, the owner of the work is not here, it's outsourced. He needs to be assured that what is going on is good enough, because ultimately he's going to bear responsibility. That corporate body is going to bear responsibility for the outcome. So it is very important that all adequate controls are there to protect the end consumer of the products. Next. I see the MC getting up. I'll be wrapping up. What point do we make here? Again, it's just to point out the fact that this kind of facility is necessary, that it complies with GMP, just to ensure that everything that comes out there, the regulatory agency, the regulatory bodies will be happy with it. Because there is no funder, there is no sponsor of a research project that wants to repeat the work. So you just need to get it right. And the only way to get it right is to work according to what he's eventually going to use in his manufacturing process, CGMP. Next, please. Yeah, when Margaret sent me a video clip on this facility, I immediately remembered visiting a facility in South Africa. This is a manufacturer in South Africa making mRNAs. It's the designated center for producing COVID vaccines and all of that. Afrigen, the company is called. And when I looked at her video clip, it reminded me of this. So if you were this company, assuming this is a manufacturer in Nigeria or wherever in the world, from which kind of facility would you want to get your research information? Please go to the next slide. The one on the left or the one on the right where there are controls? Next slide. So it is key. It's all about, you know, again, we go back to it. You are looking for a spouse. You don't dress shabbily. You don't talk loudly. If it's a lady, she packages herself well. And whatever it is, the parents ensure she does well. We've got to package ourselves well to be attractive to the industry. And that is what it takes. With that facility there in the faculty right now, there's no industry anywhere in the world. If it can make economic sense, they will do their work in that facility. So that is what it takes. That is what we need to do. Next slide, please. Again, I just wanted to highlight the kind of thing you need to do. I mean, how many labs anywhere in this country will you have to go through this gowning process to get your work done? Next slide. And I promise to mention only one, to use only one slide to highlight some of the challenges, the obstacles. Let's not pretend that there are no obstacles. We have human capacity issues, especially on the academic side, in terms of industry research, infrastructure, even our mindset. I've talked a bit about that. The gap, the fact that academia is dealing at TRL 1, while what they want is 8 or 9. The stage of development of our industry, let's also be factual about that. Financial issues, and the type of products that are in the Nigerian market. Next, please. This facility that has just been commissioned this morning answers the first 4. I mean, that's a big deal because it does address a number of the issues that could be stumbling blocks in collaboration between industry and academia. Next, please. And then I just thought I should also mention what I think this facility will do for us. It builds capacity both in academia and industry so that there is seamless flow. Remember, now we are speaking the same language. And so we can move more quickly from the laboratory to the commercial system. Students get a good chance. I remember GMP sounded like the most boring thing when I was a student because we had this lecturer. What can you teach about GMP? You just come and read the different portions of the GMP. And you could not imagine window ledge should be smooth, the corners should be smooth, the floor should not have break. Come. What is this man going to ask in the exam? That's what's going on. So what students of this university have now is the opportunity, even just peeping through the window, of connecting with reality. That gives them an advantage. So we are connecting education, of course, the human capital, with the right attitude. That 100, 200 level student who sees that GMP facility, in 20 years' time, is going to try to outshine EMSO. Because you might have just sparked something in that mind, and it's somewhere at the back of the mind. It's really, really critical. I feel very excited about having this. Let's go to the next slide. I think I'm almost done. So I just think, what do I put on the plate for those who own this facility, those who want to manage it, those who want it to work. They have to create awareness. One of the reasons I told you probably NIPRI didn't do well enough was people didn't know what it was meant to be doing. So you've got to shout. You've got to say what you have. You've got to market your resources and accept what you can do. You can't do everything. In that case, you can then tailor your marketing to meet specific expectations of industry. And you may have to spend some money. Do some proof of concept, proof of capacity work. Whether you are contracted or not, just do it. Solve somebody's problem, but solve the problem of a rich man so that others will now see that you can solve problems. With that, you can market yourself to others. And truth be told, market beyond Nigeria. There is nothing like this in the whole sub-region. I'm very aware, like you've mentioned. So we need to let people know. With this communication system now, you can work for anybody, anywhere in the world. So market beyond Nigeria, and then even universities. They need it too. Every university wants to be a partner to the industry. They don't need to have the facility in their own location. They can use your facility because they have access to industry. Next. Well, the industry, you can't shake hands alone, so the industry will have to help us out here. They need to venture a little more. A bit of risk-taking. And I'm in Abuja, and so I understand the other, many other factors that make life very difficult for our manufacturers. But I pretend at this point not to understand too many. You need to venture. There has to be product improvement. We cannot just stay stuck at producing paracetamol tablets. There's no technology in it. There's no trick in it. There's no work for research in it. Let us even reformulate existing products. Give us the challenge. Challenge us. Challenge them now to reformulate something that delivers more. It may be difficult for you to take APIs because of the various challenges, but at least we can modify and improve your existing products. I think the industry will help if it does this. I'm sure I'm done. Next. Okay. So as you put on the shoes, next. You remember, and I hope I was trying to get something that was very close to Margaret. I'm sure I got it. That in spite of what has been achieved, in spite of what we wish to achieve, we still have miles to go before we sleep. So for my generation of researchers, we are walking off the stage. For Margaret's group, they are on the stage. They have achieved a lot by our standards, but by their standards and by the standards of the Gen Z in front of them, they still have a long way to go. But we are confident that with short steps like we are seeing that have been taken, we will eventually get to a point where our country will no longer be afraid that India says they are not exporting paracetamol to us, like happened during COVID. We want to get to a point where we confidently, 200 million of us, will say, if the need arises, it may not be economically viable. The US still imports drugs from India. But if India says it's not exporting drugs to the United States today, nobody will die. They have the capacity, they will activate it. So it may not make economic sense at this point, but we want to have the capacity to decide what drugs, quality of medicines our people use. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause for Professor Kunle. Thanks so very much for that keynote. Very quickly, I want to quickly take another set of recognitions by permission of the Dean. We have here sitting pharmacist BFO Adeniran, FPSN, former chairman, PSN Lagos. You're welcome. Pharmacist Antonio Yawole, FPSN, also a former chairman of the PSN Lagos. And also we have a DPS here in Lagos, pharmacist Dr. Mudupe Oyawole, FPSN. We also have, yes, his wife. And they have produced a pharmacist as well. We also have a pharmacist in-house who was trained here in the University of Lagos and who has also come at least twice to present keynotes here, both to the students during commencement. Pharmacist Shino Panubi, the lead consultant at Pharm Alliance, and has also been a wonderful partner for the Department of Clinical Pharmacy, especially with our vaccination training. Thank you very much. We also have here seated pharmacist Valentine Okelu. I saw him come in. Yes. Is the MD, Namet Pharmaceuticals. You're welcome, sir. We also have Mr. Gabi Alaridi, who is the CEO of AfriJet. I think he's here. Oh, good. You're welcome. So now before the fundee comes up to take her presentation, we have a short video of the CGMP Center, and it will be played right now.
First of its kind in Sub-Saharan Africa. There is no university in Sub-Saharan Africa as of today that can boast of a GMP compliant facility. And for this, we must thank the funders, MEDAFRICA Foundation, GMP Pharmaceuticals Incorporated, New Jersey, and Marty Jiven, who has spearheaded this. We also must thank Population Council New York, who is also part of this collaboration. Now, to the benefits. When you have a GMP facility within a citadel of learning, like the University of Lagos, what it means is all the bright minds are within a facility that is the bedrock for innovation. Pharmaceutical industries can work with academia to solve problems such as making medicines more bioavailable or taking our herbal medicines to forms that can compete with conventional medicines. That is why this facility is here. We have within this facility capacity for research, quality assurance, and pilot production. You can see all our systems are fully automated. All our processes are highly passworded. So it means that if we go into partnership with pharma industries, they will be assured that their products are going through the best of systems. And when we talk about the best of systems, we are talking about document control, we're talking about work instructions, we're also talking about facility management.
The President of the PSN, professors, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as we welcome the Fundee, Dr. Margaret Ilomuanya. You're welcome.
Wow, thank you so much. I want to stand on existing protocols. Please, can you share my slides? I will try not to give my vote of thanks yet, but I want to appreciate, I really don't know where I want to start saying the thank yous. There's so many friends, there's so many colleagues in the audience. I am very humbled. Thank you everyone for being here. I want to use the next 10 minutes to share I call it the MEDAFRICA GMP story, how we started and where we've gotten to, and exactly what our vision is for the next decade. Slides. So before the slides come up, I think I should mention that everything we see here and we're celebrating here actually kick-started in 2020. I had the opportunity to turn down a postdoc from Harvard University and pick up a fellowship, a senior research fellowship at Population Council. I also want to use this opportunity to acknowledge the second Jiven Fellow, Dr. Kafo, please. Yes, the Jiven Research Fellowship single-handedly is responsible for most of what we see here at the University of Lagos. I had the opportunity to work there as a fellow, and fortunately for me, and I would say unfortunately, COVID happened because it was in the midst of COVID that I was given an opportunity to show what we could do with our science, and that is one of the reasons why we are here today. The Population Council also afforded me the opportunity to work on direct product development that is linked to industry. So I am actually speaking as the principal. Okay, first of all, I'm wearing many hats. I'm speaking first as the acting HOD of the Department of Pharmaceutics and Pharmaceutical Technology. Please, all the members of pharmaceutics and pharmaceutical technology, teaching, non-teaching, everybody, please remain standing. We are a wonderful team. You see, it's easy for people to say, oh, Dr. Ilomuanya, Dr. Ilomuanya, Dr. Ilomuanya. It's very easy. But Dr. Ilomuanya could never have done it alone. So I appreciate my department. And then I also appreciate PSN, specifically. In fact, there were people that I had spoken to before this GMP actually became a reality. Pharmacist IG, don't remove your eye. We had so many discussions. I really appreciate you. So I'm the acting head of Department of Pharmaceutics and Pharmaceutical Technology, the principal investigator of the MEDAFRICA GMP grant, and the co-investigator, Sub-Saharan Africa partner, that's the USAID, microbicide research development to advance HIV prevention technologies through innovation and research 2021 to 2025. Next slide. So I will not repeat that. Let's go to the next slide. So basically what we've developed, aside from the fact that we have a beautiful facility, is a system and a process. And we all know that when we have a products work because quality is built into the product from the onset. Next slide. So our facility actually caters to quality management services. We have SOPs for sanitation and hygiene, building facilities, all this in line with world standard. Next slide, please. So in 2020, while I was in New York, there was a call for a grant, and it was the Microbicide 2020 R&D project. So in line with the work that I had been doing with our partners at Population Council, we wrote a proposal, and I was part of that proposal. Three of us wrote that proposal: Tom Zajdowski, Lisa Haddad, and myself. And we were shortlisted. Next slide. We were shortlisted for this USAID grant in 2021. Now, sorry, can we get, this is a double slide. Can I get the backdrop first before this one? So we eventually, out of the number of people that were shortlisted, we eventually were shortlisted and we were part of a consortium. Now, the USAID looked at it and decided not to give any one team funding to develop HIV prevention products. So what they were now concerned about was to get the best minds and the best teams and pull them into a consortium. And that was how the co-creation team came about. Next slide. No, not this slide, previous slide. Okay, so basically we had teams that were deemed product development and US-based partners. And I was the only African that was on the product development team linked with a US partner. And for me, that was very exciting. That was very exciting. And I think that was also very sad, because it's not enough that we have our ideas. it's very important that we link up with people that would be able to push our ideas. And then it's also important that we do not, feel scared of pushing out our innovations. So under African partners, the University of Lagos was listed because I decided to have a listing as an independent partner. So as an independent partner, to protect my own R&D, I was listed as an African partner. And University of Lagos was listed as the only center that was putting up a proposal for novel drug development in HIV prevention. Next slide. So because we worked as a consortium, our work with Population Council was constrained in the sense that a lot of the drug development had to be domiciled in the US. And when drug development is domiciled in the US, it means that we cannot train our own people. And it means that we also cannot own our own technology. So USAID, we approached USAID as an independent partner from Sub-Saharan Africa, as the only partner from Sub-Saharan Africa that wanted to do core drug development for HIV prevention. And they told us that they cannot, we had already gotten the grants, but they won't release the funds if we do not have a GMP facility. And they were not going to fund a GMP facility because Sub-Saharan Africa was unsteady. So we went back to our partners at Population Council and, we tried sourcing funding for the GMP facility with grants that were now in the custody of USAID. And suffice to say, we were not very successful. Because of the kind of work that I had done with teams at Population Council, and because of this God-sent gentleman, he decided to single-handedly fund the GMP facility. And I must say that for those of us in industry, when you see funding like that for research, and basically it's product-based research, we all know that there is nothing that is free, and something must have been done to earn that amount of funding. And that is why when we go out for fellowships and we are required to work, please, so our younger colleagues, our postdocs, work. Because when you work, you will, people that you think are not looking will look, and that will be rewarded. So let's go back to that slide. So by the time, the slide before this. So by the time Marty wanted to fund, okay, and then I should mention that the USAID grants that we got was $125 million. Yes, the consortium grant was $125 million. But because we were not able to provide a stable economy and safety for their funds, we could not partake in using that fund to build a GMP facility in Nigeria. And that's one of the reasons why Marty Jiven stepped up and decided to fund our facility. Now, the facility is valued at $450,000 with the extra $25,000 that is being spent to train our people. So one of the reasons why I said our staff in farm and farm tech should stand up is because if you need people to do your process controls, write SOPs for a very big price, we are very available. Our doors are open. Yes, because for those of us that have seen the facility, I'm sure you would not doubt what I'm saying. And for those of us that haven't seen the facility, once this program is over, all invited guests and members of MPSN would meet us at designated sites within the faculty, and we will also take you around. Next slide. Now, and I'm very thankful to the University of Lagos and the Faculty of Pharmacy because they gave us, it's one thing to dream. And my husband will tell you that sometimes I just start telling him, do you know we can do this? Do you know we can do this? I'm a dreamer. So it's one thing to dream, and it's another thing to be given an opportunity to actualize your dreams. So this was the laboratory that we broke off. Next slide. And we started breaking the existing floor in October of 2022. We got to strip the floors down to, okay, I'm a pharmacist by training. Well, but in the last 2 years, I should be given an engineering degree. So we got to strip the floor down. Next slide. Now, we lost a classroom while we were putting this up, and the funders graciously renovated a brand new postgraduate classroom. So this is where we teach our postgraduate students. Next slide. We took care of, we had to create gutters by the side of the GMP facility. Next slide. So this basically shows you all the reconstruction of the entire place that had to go on. Next slide. Next slide, we did the plumbing, then we did the flooring, reinforcing concretes. Then we had ongoing construction commencing in June of 2023. Next slide. Of course, I've mentioned this. We actually had our training in line with the 21 CFR Part 221 enclosure. Next slide. Then we had the team from FabTech visit us from India. And there we can see our immediate past dean on hand to welcome them. We had an entire team from India come to do the construction. And I'm hoping that FabTech will train Nigerians. You're doing a lot of fantastic work, but it still saddens me that we would have 100% of manpower coming from India. I think if we have 10% coming from Nigeria, Mr. Fozi, it would be nice, but they are an amazing team. Next slide. So this was ongoing construction. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. So this basically shows you how the work was going on. Next slide. The HVAC, AHU outdoor units. Next slide. And then we had to have a collaboration with the engineering unit at the University of Lagos. They worked with FabTech to ensure that all the electrical fittings were well done, and we had so many series of meetings. And yes, it wasn't just only work. We got to take the entire team out, both from the department. Unfortunately, some people in my department did not want to go to the beach. And then full disclosure, PSM president dragged me to Gombe that weekend, so I also wasn't there. But while we were doing the construction, the team, the department, we had fun. We got to take ourselves out. And, that interaction also helped a lot because, you get to know your team members. You get to know what the postgraduate students want. You get to know where they're having issues. And the reason why I decided not to include some of the videos where they were dancing. But, one of the things that this did was to foster collaboration between our contractors and the team, and also give a listening ear even to the postgraduate students that also work in the department. The bosses must learn to work with the students, otherwise we will not be as productive as we should be. Next slide. Now, Rutgers Cancer Institute. This is in Rutgers University. They have a GMP facility that covers their blood and bone marrow transplant program. Next slide. There were slides of 5 different facilities. Okay. So what I'm trying to show here is in the US, there are 7 active GMP facilities that work directly with industry to bring products to the market. And now in Nigeria, we have the first functional GMP facility in West Africa, and only the 3rd on the continent. This facility for now is tailored towards developing freeze-dried vaginal inserts for HIV prevention. The technology was developed in the US with our partners at Population Council. Our work here at the MEDAFRICA GMP facility is to reformulate that product, enhance its stability, and ensure that when we go to phase 2 clinical trials, it passes. And I think the funders have immense confidence in the fact that in 18 months, we will deliver. And I hope we will be able to invite everyone here to the product launch in the US. Next slide. Yes, I said we'll invite you to the product launch in the US because I think it's a challenge for our R&D people here. I have a lot of my friends here that are captains of industry. If we have an industry giant putting up conservatively $500,000 to fund a research led by Dr. Ilomuanya in the University of Lagos in Nigeria, then I expect Nigerian pharma can double that. Nigerian pharma. Nigerian pharma can double that. We need to believe in ourselves because whether we like it or not, the first product from this facility is not for the Nigerian market, whether we like it or not. And the idea is for us to be able to develop novel treatments for Nigeria, for Africa, and beyond. Next slide. So this is the floor plan that we have. There is actually a dual entry. You have the non-pressurized systems, which cover the warehouse, finished goods store, and the secondary packaging. And then we have our clean rooms. We have 3 clean rooms that have the manufacturing area, a tableting and lyophilizing room, as well as a primary packaging area. Next slide. Next slide. So basically, our aim is to formulate the first batch of Griffithson freeze-dried vaginal inserts for clinical trials in Africa. And we intend to carry out more industry-led research, not just with our partners in the US, but we are also developing partners with industry in the UK and industry in Japan. So I'm hoping that the offshoot of this is we'll be talking to industry in Nigeria to develop such partnerships. We're hoping that the FDA visits in November of this year. We're hoping to have FDA visits in November of this year. And I'm hoping that the funder also visits as well in November of this year. But before that, we are getting ready for ISO certification as well as a visit from NAFDAC. Next slide. So like I've mentioned before, industry collaborations are what we are looking for because we would also try and function as a contract research organization, not just for industry in Nigeria, but industries around the world. Next slide. Well, the primary impact on the University of Lagos is the fact that when we have funding, we can train the next leaders in the pharma industry. With my first Jiven GMP grant, I was able to train in fact, I have worked with fantastic students. And I think my students are also the reason why I shine. So if they're in the hall, those of you that are in the hall, please stand up. Deborah Ogundemuren, Peace of Fonabasi. They came to me as undergrad. They came to me as master's students, and their master's degree were fully funded under my first Jiven grant. And now they are currently on fully funded PhDs under my second Jiven grant. And Peace is going to be transitioning to our Bill Gates grant, while Deborah has also gotten, in her own right, as co-PI with me as PI, another grant of $50,000 to do her research. So we are raising champions in the pharmacy industry. Let's go back to the other slide. Brian Okuba, Abia Peter, Duro Dolagbemisola, Ebire Oluwakemi. They came to me as MSc students, graduate assistants. A lot of them have, Abia Peter came to me as a research assistant. The remaining of them have completed their MSc. Next slide. Yes. Then we have Dr. Oseni and Dr. Ibrahim, who also benefited from our second Jiven grant. Please stand up. They were my postdocs. Dr. Ibrahim is not here. Both of them were my postdocs under my second Jiven grant. And Dr. Ibrahim went on to win her Bill Gates grant this year. So we're expecting that Dr. Oseni is going to be the next one to win a lot of grants. Now, there is a reason why I'm saying this. The reason why I'm saying this is when we are in a position, we must build champions. That's the only way. Keynote speaker, sir. We worked with Dr. Mercy Abo. She reached out to me and she came to our lab and worked with us for 3 months. She was funded under our second JIVEN grant. And Dr. Abo this year will be funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to present our work in, I think it's in New Jersey this year, fully funded. So we're also very proud of her. We're also very proud of her. And you see, it's when we stand as lecturers, we must acknowledge students that work with us because we think, and a lot of times, even though I'm in the lab with my students, a lot of times on Saturday and Sunday, they're here for, if I'm there with them for 2 hours, they stay 6 hours. They stay 7 hours. So it's important we recognize them. And then, yeah, this is the GMP team. They ensured that I made very nice lab coats for them. And then they also wrote SOPs. So our students write SOPs. Next slide. Now, I want to go back to CROs. The list mentioned CRO there is MedSpace, and they made $0.92 billion in revenue in 2020. We have a facility that can function as a CRO. Even if we're doing CRO for just Nigeria, we should be able to be making money to run. The Faculty of Pharmacy should be able to afford a 10 billion naira building. So if we have pharma industry here in the house and we want to push innovative products, not just within Nigeria, but beyond Africa, please come and talk to us because we don't want to be asking people to donate to a building. We want to be able to give pharma industry value so that we can expand our resources here at the Faculty of Pharmacy. Next slide. Next slide. Thank you very much for this.
Please, let's put our hands together for another round of applause for the fundee and all of the staff in her department. Well done. Very quickly, let me just, as we go on to the next program, to the next part of this event, the panel discussion, let me quickly recognize pharmacists Kayode Ayegbajeje. Okay. Pharmacist Kayode Ayegbajeje, Chair of Education and Training at PSN Lagos. Thanks, you're welcome, sir. Pharmacist Mike Ogwefi is a former editor at the PSN Lagos. You're welcome. Also online, I would like to quickly recognize that Professor Chinedum Babalola, FPSN, Vice Chancellor, Chrisland University. She's online at this time. We also have Professor Jennifer Aldupita from University of Jos online. We also have Professor Hajara Ibrahim, Professor of Pharmacognosy from ABU Zaria. We also have Dr. Ezekiel Akinkumi, the NAPAD National Chairman is also online. Last but not least, we also have Professor Yemisi Kunle online, the spouse of our keynote. So very quickly, I'll welcome, please make welcome with me, Dr. Ariola Joda, as she constitutes the panel, the discussion panel.
Thank you very much. There's been quite a lot we've heard today, and it has been really exciting an exciting time, and the times are looking up for us in the Faculty of Pharmacy. So just quickly, we're going to have a very interesting panel discussion around our topic for today. And I'd like to quickly welcome members of the panel up, starting with our lead discussant, the chairman, the national chairman of the Association of Industrial Pharmacists of Nigeria, Pharmacist Ken Onwegbu. You're very welcome, sir. Uzoma Ezioke, Executive Director, EMZO. You're very welcome, ma. Professor Boladede Silva, Department of Pharmaceutics and Pharmaceutical Technology. You're very welcome. To join us, we'll have Engineer Fozio Alkelani, Fab Technologies. You're very welcome. I believe Dr. Ariola Joda is the fifth person on the panel. So we're all very welcome to this panel discussion. And so we're all very welcome, and each of our speakers will be talking on different aspects. Each of our speakers will be talking on different aspects of what we're here to talk about today, collaboration between the industry and academia. I forgot to mention, we have a sixth speaker who will be online, Mr. Ray Rubio. He's from MEDAFRICA Foundation. So he'll be speaking to us online. When it's its turn, it will speak. So I'll be starting with our lead discussant, Pharmacist Ken Onwegbu. Looking at a lot has been said here today. We're now looking at your perspectives on academic industry collaborations for GMP work, as we had prior discussed. Over to you, sir.
Okay, good afternoon, distinguished audience. It is quite a very interesting topic, but let me start by giving a brief synopsis. NAIP, Association of Industrial Pharmacists, we saw this coming. Few years ago, about 8 years ago, NAIP is the first technical arm of PSN that instituted a special research grant with NAPA, Nigerian Association of Pharmacists in Academia. And the whole aim is to drive the vision we are seeing today. The whole aim is to galvanize research in our local materials and see what we can do to propel an industry growth. And it is on record that we have done this quite well in the past 8 years. And let me also say it here that 2 research fellows from this university, the person that brought us here today, Dr. Mrs. Margaret Ilomuanya, is one of the recipients of that award. She got it in the year 2021. And thank you. Just recently, during our conference in Enugu, Dr. Paul Chukwuemeka again won that award. So if you look at our history, I would say that University of Lagos has done excellently well in keying into that major project. For us at NAIP, we believe that the only way, honestly, we can go out of this quagmire, we can have drug medicine security, is through industrialization, through research, proper collaboration between the industry and the universities. And we have already started doing that. So that's why we started this journey long time ago. What happened in 2019, 2020 during the COVID era was quite an eye-opener for us. You will see countries like India stopping the inflow of many essential APIs and even finished formulation into the country. So what we have today, I can assure you that if we can sustain it and build or make a replica of what we have in University of Lagos in one or two places, perhaps, who knows? Honestly, we can start competing with giants or leaders in the country, like in the whole world, like China, India, and America, as the case may be. So what we are going to look today, and I will also employ my discussant to look at what can we do to sustain this tempo. Is it possible, instead of getting Matty Jevon, can the local industry players, we have them in plenty, Emzo, Fixing, SKG, just to mention a few, can we gather together and raise necessary funding that can give us another GMP lab in any part of the country? This is actually what we're going to look at today. When you go around, you witness that there's one major gap. There's a very huge gap. Most of our local key players cannot compete internationally in terms of the golden standard. I'm not trying to underrate. Most of them also doing fantastically well. But there's a very huge gap. Most of the quality analysis we have to do, some of us have to go to either rely heavily on NAFDAC, except perhaps Kachi Laboratory that has an independent lab where you can go there and get what looks like a world-class standard. Now, today, we are very, very lucky. We have a GMP classified lab in UNILAG here under the close watch of our eminent scholar. So I want to, on behalf of the industrial pharmacist, madam, thank you and your team for this wonderful job. Honestly, we have taken our time. We have been here 2 or 3 times. We have followed closely. What you have here is what NAIP as an industry has been looking for. We have been praying for that. And to the glory of God, I think that that handshake we extended about 10 years ago, today, we are getting a complimentary handshake from you and from NAPA. I want to see it as the beginning of our journey to stardom. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Pharmacist Onoigbo. Moving on from there, I will turn to Sir Fozi, Engineer Fozi. I'm sorry, I don't want to damage your name a second time. Thank you. You know, so many of us here are pharmacists and academics or academics. You are coming from an engineering background. What would you say would be the role of academic pharmacists and in collaborating with engineers to see products developed for national development?
Thank you very much. Well, it's very well phrased question. Like if someone who is in pharmaceutical academia, in pharmaceutical background, who has, you know, the most that he can know about engineering is the basic physics, then how you can translate this to his understanding what needs to be done. It required an open mindset to understand that what we apply in the world in terms of physics concepts is what the pharmacist has to understand and compensate. Speaking from the experience we have in this particular job we have done here in the university, the first very basic point that, you know, the place, as the people who visited already or they are going to visit very soon, it's a very small space. It's very congested. Well, it's not the first time that engineers have to face this issue somewhere else. Like many people will come to us and tell us, see, I have like one bungalow somewhere. Can I start manufacturing there? Or, well, you can, but it's not going to be economically visible for you. You can set up a lab, but you cannot set a factory and you expect to get your ROI within 3 to 4 years. So from that example, small example, that what you can do, what you cannot do, sometimes people get misleaded. The advice that the engineer give you in terms of norms, in terms of dimensions, whatever, it has to be well understood and obeyed to. Sometimes some people will tell us, okay, but some other people do it. Okay, I am not saying that what other people do is wrong. They must done something in the background to make it work. All right, and so this is something that we can do. So in short terms, what is needed that since we are all in the same background, same educational background, we are all engineers and pharmacists, we understand there is a science behind what we do and what you do. So the keynote is, it is understanding what each part needs from the other. The continuous cooperation, that is the key.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Engineer Fozi. I remember there was a grant that Dr. Ilomuanya was talking about some time ago. And on that team, there were pharmacists, there were engineers, because in developing the products, they needed to do some designing around how that product will be delivered. And so that brings in the engineer into the team, so that's why I asked that question. Thank you very much for your response. And now to go to Pharmacist Ezioku, you're very welcome. We have a question for you on how Nigerian pharma academics and partner industry in the development of APIs. We know that EMSO is playing in that space, and we're really, as I mentioned before, we're really excited to follow that growth path with EMSO. So how Nigerian pharma academics partner industry in development of APIs and other raw materials production for local manufacture?
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to join this important discussion. But just something I wanted to say, Dr. Ilomuanya, Doc, please, just a formality. We, the people, will be requiring your international passport and those of all your students, just in case, looking at what you've achieved and seeing how everything is currently stacked on another continent. But coming back home, I think you've set a model, although it's more for finished formulations, for exactly how every element in the value chain of pharmaceutical manufacturing, should be done. When I listened to the address from the VC, Professor Gunshola, she said that this represented research, a translation of research from academia to industry. So one of the most important things that we must have is alignment. I listen sometimes to research projects. I studied pharmacy, but I don't know if I would really define myself as a scientist or research scientist. And I listen to the subjects of some projects, and I think, who's going to use that? Honestly, so there must be alignment, because we're talking about funding. There's a call to industry to do things, and money follows the interpretation of value. It must make sense to the source. So I think it's really, really important that that becomes embedded. Yes, there's things you do for intellectual pursuits, but I think if we want to make things practical, if, as Professor Kunle has said, you want to beat your chest when you go into a pharmacy and say, yeah, I did that, it has to have practical application. So I think we need to begin conversations that talk about alignment. Professor Kunle also talked about a challenge that was thrown out to NIPRID by EMSO. That could only have come from my group managing director and our founder, Dr. Stella Okoli, who sends her warmest greetings. And the first thing she would say is, we're not doing enough. Anytime I say I'm going to speak somewhere, that's always the charge. We're not doing enough. So it makes me wonder now, what is the handshake between NIPRID and PMG-MAN, the Pharmaceutical Manufacturers Group? We don't have a regular interface. One hand does not know what the other is doing. So I think we really have to come back to understanding where our connection is, because that's what's going to hold us when there's no funding, to see it through. And the other aspect in terms of what we can bring. So coming back, I don't know what it takes to get the promotions done, but I think we should anchor it to some practical, the possibility of a practical interpretation of the work as well. So I put a couple of notes on access here. Coming to APIs, if I use EMSO's example, it is the fruit of a technical transfer agreement. So one of our long-term suppliers for over 20 years is the world's leading manufacturer of anti-malarial APIs. And as we say here, follow who know road. So we went to them because although we may say we have competence in pharmaceutical manufacturing, API manufacturing is more closely allied to the chemical industry. It's not an area we could claim any understanding. So if we look at access for academia to see the practical, makings and research, because we have an R&D research lab, the main facility, the structural work is almost completed. The reactors, I think have been mostly installed apart from 1 or 2 containers that we're waiting for. Academia should be embedded even at this point. But it raised the question for me, intellectual property rights, because we are riding on somebody's IP for which we've paid very handsomely. So I made a note and sent a note to our board chair that we need to engage with them and look at within the contract, what would that allow and open up? Then I'll just leave with one practical example of what can happen. I think we need to be open and recognize competence when we see it. One of the most promising young pharmacists at our plant in Shagamu, which is the same site where the API factory is resident, reached out and said, I want to go. Well, he said, as soon as I saw I want to go, my heart, because you know how that story normally finishes, especially in the last few years. And he said, I want to go back and study. So he didn't say where. So I called. I said, I can't do this texting thing. You'll give me high blood pressure. And he said, UNILAG. I was like, oh, really? I'm listening. What is it? So he's doing, I think, I think it's analytical chemistry, but it's chemistry. And it was a battle with HR to allow him to do this thing part-time, because we have structure, so we must be flexible. Because normally you don't do part-time and then work, So he said, no, how long is the course? 1 year. He must go. He must come back. But the young man is even being straight with you. People come and do courses and they're sick. Their grandmother has an issue. They're doing a course, And this is somebody who came through the front door and said, I want to do this. So I said, why do you want to do this? He said, I want to work in the API facility. Now, initially I was told, no, we need chemists. I said, no, I don't know what we need. You must keep an open mind and you must honor the dreams of others when they are presented. So I think the biggest thing that we can do, other than funding, you said, how much did you say? 5 what? How much is money? How much is money? Because again, we know the money follows value. When it says money answers all things, if you call it in the right way, it will come from the 4 winds. We're not moved by that. We could never have started that API project. Phase 2, which is an expansion, is around $20 million. We've already put in a lot more than that before we got to the expansion stage. We're borrowing because we are committed to the vision. But I think we need to commit together to what we want to achieve. We need to be fearless about it and find the resources. They're already here, mostly here in most of us. So if I can pause.
Thank you so very much. I'll hand over to Professor Silva to respond on behalf of academics on a way forward. Yeah.
Well, I want to appreciate the PI for this project. Up till now, between the last, will I say, 40 years, teaching and learning about GMP, UNILAG has always had a huge gap. We teach GMP in the first semester, and we go for industrial visit in the second semester. And we get to the factories, we have to start reminding the students. You remember double door, epoxy flooring, stainless steel piping for water, and they'll be nodding. And obviously that is the first time they are seeing such things. About 10 years ago, the closest we got to GMP facility in the University of Lagos is the epoxy flooring that we did in the Farm Tech Lab. We spent quite a huge amount of IGR for that project. But today, teaching and learning about GMP in University of Lagos is under one roof. We can take our students from the classroom
to the GMP facility. For that, I'm very excited, and I want to congratulate the faculty for this great achievement.
All right, then. Let me just add to what Prof has said on the readiness of academics for collaboration. I know there has been, as Pharmaceutical said, there has been these ongoing discussions around industry academia collaborations, and something came home to me today in our keynote address speaker's speech about the fact that we can't, if we remember our football team of some years ago, they said they fumbled and wumbled to the next stage. So we can't fumble and wumble into a collaboration. It must be purpose-driven from start to end. So I remember some of us were of the opinion that, let's try and do a collation, that there are some projects in various faculties of pharmacy. Let's collate it and see what they have and see how we can get industry interested in those things. And really, looking at that, maybe trying to fumble and wumble, so we have to start from scratch to see how we can begin to plan out these collaborations and then take it on. For me, as somebody not in pharmaceutics, I'm in clinical pharmacy, looking at the angle of clinical trials, acceptability of some of these products at the end of the road to the patients and to the general public, So all of us sitting on the table, looking at the thing, the projects from different levels, and then we can start that handshake and take it from one level to the other to ensure that this begins to happen. Because as we all know, there may be another COVID another time, and we should not be caught napping as we were when COVID came in terms of medicine security. So I'll hand over to Ken.
Okay, thank you. The beautiful news is that in the industry, we have started addressing some of our challenges. Challenges like speaking with one voice. Recently, most of you are aware that all the major stakeholders in the pharma industry came together under the umbrella of FEMPIA. FEMPIA is just an acronym for Federation of Nigerian Pharmaceutical Industries Association. It involves PMG-MAN, APIN, Neuropharm, IPMIN. IPMIN is the Indian Pharmaceutical Marketers Manufacturers in Nigeria. So these, of course, NAIP. These 5 bodies came together to form FEMPIA. And the whole essence, honestly, is for us to start addressing some of our local challenges, speaking with one voice and addressing our challenges together. So one of the things as a takeaway we are going to do from here, honestly, is to start putting together our challenges and then passing it to the universities so that they can throw it as a challenge. We need this, we need that. What are the likely solutions you are going to give us? And I want to assure you, Dr. Ilomuanya, that some of those challenges will be coming more now. Now that we know we have such a beautiful lab here, you are going to encounter most of those challenges for the industry. The other aspect which I said here is for us also to look at the possibility of not always relying on foreign donors or lenders. Is it possible? Because I know if you look at our total turnover for the whole industry, and it still falls around the region of billions of naira. So can we also take it up at that FEMPIAN group to look at the possibility of pulling off one? Is it possible? I know we can do it. And on this basis, I want to ask my colleague. Okay, online. Was okay, Mr. Ray Rubio, are you ready to talk to us briefly? See you, Africa, connecting. While we are trying to get Mr. Ray on, let us remember that for us to achieve a greater mileage in this our drive, we need the regulators as well. So it will even be very, very good if we have a regulator Because I know what Dr. Margaret and co went through in terms of, okay, Mr. Rubio.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Hello. Good morning.
Yeah, Mr. Rubio.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon from Nigeria.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. We are great here. Yeah, we are having a plenary discussion on a case of purpose-driven research through product development in line with GMP specification.
Yes, so
considering what you have over there, what is your advice on the best way we as Nigerians can drive this project?
well, one of the things I wanted to start out with very quickly was that make sure that we do never underestimate the challenge of establishing a fully GMP compliant facility. And it's not so much about the bricks and mortar, it's more about the people. And when it comes to people, what we should be aware of some of the past issues that have occurred between industry and academia, one of which is there's a misunderstanding about how stringent good manufacturing practices should be with respect not only to written documentation such as development reports, etc., whereby many industry people have found academic papers to be deficient, especially in terms of data, because the data was necessarily generated under the best GMP conditions or the GMP conditions that industry expected. So we are talking a little bit about collaboration. That collaboration needs to be clarified in terms of making sure that what industry is expecting in terms of research papers, drug submissions, etc., have been submitted under the conditions of GMP that are expected. What are we going to do about it? Well, I've been spending about a year.
Hello, Mr. Rubio. Okay, while our technical...
Go ahead, let me finish. Let me finish up for you. So what is the answer? So the answer in my mind is train, train, train. We got to utilize the effective training tools that are available today, which is much greater than it used to be. We need to test the competence of those people who have been trained. It's not about whether you receive the information, it's whether you understand it, comprehend it, and can apply it. We need to demonstrate competence, GMP competence. Okay, we need to have a champion, a quality champion in any laboratory who champions his GMP and is the GMP expert from which others will learn. We need to audit for compliance. It's not about whether or not we did it. We're doing it. Are we doing it, and are we doing it consistently? And that comes through an audit process. Okay, and the other suggestion I have, and there is a cost of quality. Okay, and there is always a misunderstanding in industry about, well, GMP is fluff. We don't need it. It's non-value added. Okay, and my argument is, in 45 years of experience in pharma, it's probably one of the most effective tools at your disposal that comes with a cost, but also has a huge benefit. So that's my take. I hope that message gets across to Margaret. I think she's done a great job working with her folks. It's been a difficult process, an arduous process, but we're getting there. And I'm very proud of her group, her dedication of her folks, and they have to put up with a bear like me to drum it into them, but that's what it takes. So that's my commentary for you all.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Rubio. Thank you very much. One major issue that came up from here, he emphasized training. And I want to ask, particularly Dr. Margaret, maybe Dr. Joda will take part of the question from here. Are you focusing on training UNILAG students alone, or is this an open for key members of the industrial sector? Maybe like Fishing can send one or two people and you train them on GMP standard. Is it possible? Look, going forward.
I'm sure I can take that. It's very possible. We are very open to, I'm speaking on behalf of the convener. I'm sure it's possible. There will be mutual beneficial arrangements for such trainings to happen. And it can be short-term, it can be long-term, depending, it can be worked out.
And on the part of the engineering guru, FabTech, that handled the installation of every construction from beginning to the end. And when Dr. Margaret was giving us her speech here, she made mention of 90% to 100% of the staff coming from India. What is also your own idea or plan to make sure that some Nigerians are meant to be part of that transfer of technology, learning the skills of installing all the GMP equipment?
Yes, it's well addressed question, because one of the points you mentioned before, how to sustain this temple, we have opened it today. And of course, we always, when we hand over any facility, we do train the staff there to train them to make sure that everything runs smoothly as it's intended to be, as the design allows them to be. Now, back into the point when why I am bringing staff from India, while the Nigerian people are lacking the facts of the jobs, or feeling that there is unemployment in the street that everybody see. The answer of that comes from this place. I have inside FabTech, we have training programs for people who are inside FabTech to learn. Part of the team we have here is Nigerians that they are actually under training now to do facility designs for anywhere in the world, not only in Nigeria. Where the problem comes that the people come to us, come to FabTech to learn. We will ask for their qualification and everything in terms of engineering. They will have the mechanical engineering certificate, which I believe is correct. But when it comes to the right experience of work, I feel like there is a huge gap between what they have learned in university, what is the actual science has come to, and where is the actual application at the site. I will say something that I heard of, I'm not sure is, and I feel out, that they are discouraging mechanical engineering students from going to subject like HVAC systems because there is not that many work there. Go to learn about generators. I heard that. I hope it is wrong, but that actually what the people tell me when they come to me, for interview for work, and they will tell me, I am mechanical engineer, I want to work for FabTech, but this is my experience. So it's when I feel there is a lack of knowledge in terms of academia, not lack of knowledge in the street. And when we are dealing with GMP facility with highest standards in the world, and when I have a name to protect, FabTech name, then I will be feeling a little bit worried, and I will start to bring in people abroad. Because when you are linking that with your second comment about capable to internationally compete, you should have internationally approved facility to compete. So the answer to your question comes from academia. Train people right, let them reach here in Nigeria their potential, and they are welcome to work here. I'm not happy to pay for air flight tickets and visas to bring people. I want to let people here work for the country, work for their own country, to sustain their own economy.
So I think the advice is not only for academia, it's also for the industry.
For the industry as well.
Yes, two-way. But there's also something that came up, Prof, which I would like you to take a quick look at. The collaboration between manufacturers and academia. We know that those of you in the university, you like data, and you can churn out as many as possible. But for the industrialist over there, he's more interested in making his profit. So do you see a mismatch, or do you envisage that this is going to put us as loggerheads in terms of, because Mr. Rubio mentioned it in part of his thing. So do you think it's going to be a challenge in driving our vision to collaborate in achieving this goal? Let me put it in your professional arrogance and that of the industry, do you see any conflict?
Thank you, moderator. Our lead discussant. Well, I don't think it's arrogance. I think we need to settle that as a baseline. The starting point is to understand the problem on hand. When people in the industry come to the academia, they come with a proposal or a request either for product improvement or product development. Once you have an understanding of what is on hand, it is easy to move on. I think it is an issue of understanding what is at stake. We have had opportunities to work for some industries. We did a product development for Pharmadeco some years ago, where we started from the development of the product up to clinical trials, and the product was launched. So working with industry is not a strange issue with us. But as the keynote speaker said earlier, we need to understand ourselves.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Prof. Maybe for lack of time, we are going to take our last question so that we can then move forward. And that's my last question. We go to Mrs. Ezeoke. If you look at Nigerian annual or value projection of pharma industry in Nigeria, it's projected to be about, some people will give you $1.5 to $4 billion. Some people will tell you $2.5 to $4 billion. So do you see the possibility of FEMPIA as a body coming together to pull this kind of string like we are talking today? Do you think it's possible in the next 2 or 3 years?
Maybe I'll understand. Do you think the projection is low or high for the industry? Let me understand where your questions come from.
Yeah, for me, if the way I would say tell you that projection is low because the projection looks more at some aspect finished product sales. Other complementary services in the pharma industry is not captured by that projection. So if you ask me, I would say that projection is quite low. And I will look for something in the region of $10 to $15 billion.
I think I'm in agreement. I think it's a low projection. A lot of why the industry is the way it is because of the environment, you know, to some degree, or our ability to navigate the environment, because some people are navigating it very well. Like my eminent senior brother here, you know, Chief Onyechi is navigating it excellently well. And it's the same thing that could be happening in manufacturing. There is something I will say, because FEMPIA is let me say, a conglomerate. And something that's very important as we learn to work together is understanding everybody's needs. For instance, if somebody is largely invested in importing, will they have the same need for R&D as somebody who is doing local manufacturing? Now, yes, I would say yes, they do, because of regulatory mandates. You mentioned correctly that the regulator is a part of the conversation. We have a 5+5, policy, which means you import for 5 years, you get a 5-year renewal, after which you must collaborate with a local manufacturer. So whilst we think we are all in different sectors, at the end of the day, we're all in the same business, getting the required products at the right quality, at the right price to the deserving consumer. So I think that this is a collaboration that can grow, but we need to do the same thing we need to do here, which is understand what are the constraints from academia? Where's the shoe pinching? Where's the opportunity that will make you walk 5 extra miles in those tight shoes because you need to get there? So whilst it appears that we have opposing, or let me say differing needs, I think we're coming to the understanding that this industry rises or falls together.
Thank you very much. Wonderful audience. I want to assure you that we are going to take this up to FEMPIAN Group. I strongly believe, as the National Chairman of the Association of Industrial Pharmacists, that we can do this as a group, or we can also start looking for experts to start writing more projects that can land us another beautiful grant like Dr. Margaret did. But in a summary, for us to have access to essential medicine, medicine security, drug security in the country, we honestly need to move out of where we are. We need to move to a productive economy than a consumption economy. We need to start building what EMZO is doing, having at least the first 2 or 3 API manufacturing plants in the country. We need to actually reverse this trend of 70% importation and 30% local production. And the only way we can do that, honestly, is for us to build more industries and encourage local contract manufacturing so that those who does not have what it takes to build a $5 million plant can have the same opportunity EMZO or Fixin or any other company has. So this actually a very good start. I want to use this opportunity once again, Dr. Margaret, to thank you and the department and of course the university for this wonderful job. You have actually challenged us, and I want to believe that honestly we're going to take it up from there. God bless you and bless the university.
So we just quickly take a group picture with the rest of the high table.
Right now, we're going to do the presentation of an award to the keynote speaker, and it's going to be presented Professor Olobayo Kunle, and the award will be presented to him. We'll call okay. We're going to call the representative of the registrar, Dr. Filusi. Please come to the stage. and he will be supported by Sir Ike Onyechi, who will be presenting this award to the keynote speaker.
It's been a wonderful time we've all had together, and the cerebral presentation of our keynote speaker, Professor Olobayo Kunle. And as a result of that, on behalf of the Department of Pharmaceutics and Pharmaceutical Technology of the University of Lagos, I have the honor of presenting this award to you for the brilliant keynote speech that you delivered to us today at the maiden departmental annual seminar series and commissioning of MEDAFRICA GMP Laboratory today, 28th of May, 2024. Thank you. Once again, good afternoon, everyone. It's been a long day. The Vice Chancellor in absentia, our President, Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria in absentia too, the Dean, Faculty of Pharmacy, and permit me to stand on the already well-established protocol in the morning. I bring greetings from the Registrar Pharmacy Council of Nigeria, Pharmacist Ibrahim Babashir Ahmed. He really wanted to be here, but because of some exigencies that came up, he had to send me to represent him, and he had sent an address for this August occasion. So whatever I'm saying out or reading out is my voice, but it is spirit and the mind of our dear registrar, Pharmacist Ibrahim Babashir Ahmed. Remarks by the Registrar, Pharmacy Council of Nigeria, from Ibrahim Babashir Ahmed, FPSN, FPC Farm, FNA Farm, FCAI, on the occasion of the MEDAFRICA GMP Laboratory and the first annual seminar series held at Old Grace Hall, College of Medicine, Campus, University of Lagos, today, May 20, 2024. Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues and stakeholders, it is with great honor that I stand before you today to mark the official opening of the MEDAFRICA GMP Laboratory and to participate in the first annual seminar series organized by the Department of Pharmaceutics and Pharmaceutical Technology in this great citadel of learning. First, I would like to congratulate the Vice Chancellor of the University of Lagos, Professor Folashade Tolulope Ogunshola, FASOON, and the President of MEDAFRICA Foundation USA and the founder of this project, MEDAFRICA GMP Laboratory in UNILAG, Mr. Mati Jevin, for their outstanding contributions to this remarkable development. I commend the acting head of the Department of Pharmaceutics and Pharmaceutical Technology, Dr. Margaret Ilomuanya, for the foresight in undertaking this laudable initiative. The PCN is particularly pleased with her and her team in piloting those projects. History is being made at the commissioning of MEDAFRICA GMP Laboratory, which also marks the maiden department's seminar series of the Department of Pharmaceutics and Pharmaceutical Technology with the theme that we have had, academic industry collaboration, a case of purpose-driven research through product development in line with CGMP specifications. The event today is also a significant milestone as it is bringing together academia, industry leaders, regulatory bodies, and other stakeholders with a view to create appropriate linkages and a platform for knowledge exchange and cultivation of partnerships that can drive pharmaceutical in an industry forward. In today's rapidly evolving healthcare landscape, the role of pharmacists and pharmaceutical scientists is more pivotal than ever. The integration of academic insights with industry practices is essential for the development of new drugs, the improvement of existing therapies, and the assurance of product safety and efficacy. Through collaboration, we can accelerate the journey from research to markets, ensuring that life-saving medications are accessible to those who need them most. The Pharmacy Council of Nigeria is dedicated to supporting initiatives that advance pharmaceutical education, research, and practice. We recognize the need for continuous professional development and adherence to global standards. It is our responsibility to ensure that Nigerian pharmacists and pharmaceutical scientists are equipped with the skills, knowledge, and resources necessary to excel in the provision and to continue providing high-quality pharmaceutical care. As we celebrate the inaugurates of MEDAFRICA GMP Laboratory projects of the Department of Pharmacies and Pharmaceutical Technology, Faculty of Pharmacy, University of Lagos, let us reaffirm our commitment to purpose-driven research and product development. Let us continue to strive to create an environment where innovation thrives, where academia and industry work hand in hand. Our Prince Julius Adeluyi said today, where town and gown interact together, and where the fruit of our excellence work contribute to the health and well-being of our communities. Once more, congratulations to the acting head of the department. On behalf of the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria, I extend my heartfelt congratulations to the Vice Chancellor, University of Lagos. I'm confident that the MEDAFRICA GMP Laboratory will become a beacon of excellence in pharmaceutical research and development. I encourage all participants in this seminar series to engage fully, share your insights, and may our collaborative efforts pave way for a healthier and more prosperous Nigeria. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Let's appreciate the registrar, PCN, again with another round of applause. Thank you very much, sir. And now let's invite the fundee as she presents a vote of thanks to appreciate every one of us who's been here today, even as the funders are in the US, those of us that have come to celebrate, and those of us that intend to collaborate. So we'll take a quick vote of thanks as the meeting begins to. So first, before we go into the vote of thanks, I want to first quickly welcome pharmacist Ike Onyechi, MD Alpha Pharmacy. He's not only been a guest at this meeting, he's also been a part of ensuring that the Med GMP lab is going to be functional by investing into the energy part of that investment. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you.
time is fast spent. I bring you goodwill from Alpha Pharmacy. Standing on the existing protocol, I want to thank the faculty. I want to thank Margaret and her team. They've done us proud. I also want to thank the Vice Chancellor. She was wonderful with her comments and the speech. We have a lot of opportunity to take our nation higher than where we find ourselves. The fault is in us, not in our stars, Julius Caesar was saying. So we need to do something more. The Widow's Mite, we contributed to support the completion of the energy part of this. It's just a sign of something more we can do. We've been supporting UNILAG at Chemist time. I'm sure we did some investments in some of your labs. And the students, we train most interns for you. We are still available and we're more ready to partner to take this country out of where we are. When we travel to FIP and other events, it's so demoralizing or depressing the way we find where we are. And when we go outside, we can still do more. You've seen what Margaret has done. Let's challenge ourselves. And my colleagues in the industry will be coming back to knock on your doors to find more collaboration. We must do this. We must take ourselves out of the woods. Nobody will do it for you. So I want to thank everybody who has made our time to be here, to hear these motivating comments. We need to have more cooperation and more sacrificial mind. It's not about having too much. It's about committing to develop the environment for the future generation of this nation. Thank you very much. I bring you goodwill from Alpha Pharmacy. Thank you. God bless you.
To reiterate again the goodwill from Sir Ike Onyechi, I would have us know that it was not a pre-planned meeting where he made the promise that he was going to buy the generator for the GMP lab. It was during the colloquium, the PSN colloquium, and he just overheard the conversation with the PSN president that these are some of the challenges. And he said, oh, that you need a generator? He said, yes. What is the size of the generator? And they said that they were going to go and check. And even when they went back with the feedback, his first comment was, where should I send the money first before you even do your presentation? Let's appreciate him again. Pharmacist Sir Ike Onyechi. Thank you very much, sir. God bless you, sir. Let's now invite the Fondi for her vote of thanks as we wind down and go to do Mary.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adeyemi. It's from Dr. Kehinde Salako that I heard the word Fondi for the first time. I will be taking this vote of thanks as principal investigator, as well as the head of department. It's with a heartfelt gratitude that I stand today to appreciate everyone that has joined this meeting. And honestly, I am very thankful to God, and God indeed, he is very faithful. I want to start by thanking the funder, Marty Jiven, for believing in my vision and funding this project. Marty is a visionary, and his work in the pharma sector transcends not just the United States, but as we can see, Africa. And it's a testament to his love for product development. I also want to appreciate the Jiven Fellowship that was instituted in his name, because it's through this funding I was able to do some valuable research at Population Council. And it gave me the opportunity to meet and work with the wonderful team at Population Council, the Center for Biomedical Research in New York, Dr. Tom Zajdowski, who was my boss at CBR, Jim Saylor, the vice president of CBR, Lisa Haddad, Rebecca Brodsky, Natalia Telishova, and my very good colleague and co-fellow, Dr. Sunday Okafor from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. He's also part of our CBR New York family. Thank you very much. I want to thank the management of the University of Lagos, led by the Vice Chancellor, Professor Folashade Ogunshola, who were instrumental to ensuring the timely signing of the MOU between the University of Lagos and the Center for Biomedical Research in Population Council in New York. And it is that MOU that is the result of, that MOU that is basically sustaining our activities at the MEDAFRICA GMP facility. I thank Professor Bola Obo, Professor Oluwole Familoni, and Professor B.O. Silva specifically for joining our meetings. We had over 30 meetings, and these meetings would not start till 11 p.m. Nigerian time. Professor Silva always joined every meeting before me. And then Professor Obo would tell you that it is her responsibility to be in these meetings. I am eternally grateful to the three of them because they stood as backbone of the university to show that if that funding came to the university, we would be able to deliver. I am deeply grateful to the management and all staff, academic, non-teaching, technical, everybody in the Faculty of Pharmacy, University of Lagos. At a point, I got calls over the weekend. Some people will call, some people will come to my office, some people will send me text messages. We had cleaners that volunteered to clean our offices. Some weekends, Saturday, Sunday, some people will bring lunch for us unannounced. I cannot mention everybody. I am deeply grateful to the entire staff of the Faculty of Pharmacy, led by Professor Gloria Ayola. Your support was invaluable to the success of this project. All the text messages and calls to my person are very much appreciated. I must appreciate in a very special way the immediate past dean, Professor Aderonke Adepoju Belu. She's not in the hall. She stood with me like a rock. Professor Aderonke Adepoju Belu and Dr. Azubike and I pursued the signing of the MOU. And she single-handedly made sure that that MOU was signed. And when we had to have, when I had to have my promotion to associate professor and the interview was fixed, because I had a meeting in New York pertaining to this GMP lab, she took me to the former vice chancellor and I had my interview scheduled within 24 hours to allow me to attend to the meeting in New York that led to the culmination of these grants. I remain eternally grateful. I want to thank our speakers. I want to thank our speakers for finding time to join us here. Professor Olobai Okunle, Pharmacist Kenneth Onegbu, and all the speakers of our panel session. We appreciate your time and do not take it for granted. You have made this program truly grand. And then my family, the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, led by Professor Cyril Usifo. Sir, your leadership has been visionary. I thank every member. I mean, the turnout from PSN is humbling. Francis Adeniro, thank you so much for coming. Lagos State PSN, thank you so much for coming. The PSN family, there's just none like it. I thank everybody from the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria here present, especially PSN Lagos leadership, members of the National Executive Council. I think my EIC is around. He came in from Osun State this morning. Prof, maybe he has gone, he's left with president. He came in from Osun State this morning. State chairman of PSN, fellows of PSN, the Registrar Pharmacist Council and his team. Honestly, as men of honor, we join hands. I thank you for the support towards the department, towards this project. I especially recognize Sir Ike Onyechi, MDCO Alpha Pharmacy. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for part funding for our 150 kVA generator. Thank you for opening your doors to us. We are very grateful. I want to thank NAFDAC and their representatives. I also want to thank in a very special way. I have a classmate of mine from secondary school, Dr. Wemimo. She's here. She's been my rock. You know, we've known for almost 40 years, and you know, thank you for being here. And thank you for allowing me rant sometimes. I want to thank in a special way my graduating class. I don't know if Shino is here. Shino Okpanubi. I was class rep, but Shino was the one that was more of the class rep. I want to thank my graduating class. Quite a number of them are online. A lot of, they were so invested in ensuring that this project also came to fruition. They always wanted to hear how I was doing at every point in time. So the graduating class of 2022-2023, thank you very much. I want to thank all our contractors. Oh, 2002, 2003. I want to thank all our contractors who worked with us to ensure a timely completion of this project. Fabtech India, thank you for doing a wonderful job. I sincerely thank the Fabtech team led by Mr. Fozi Al-Kalani, the project manager, Dananjis Shetiga, and his entire team. Thank you for doing an absolutely wonderful job. I also want to thank in a special way, Saroja Chandan, the head of this wonderful company. When you see the kind of beautiful work that is being done by their team in Nigeria, it's no surprise that they have a lady at the helm of affairs. So please, Fozi, please send my regards to her and tell her that I look forward to visiting India again to have lunch with her. So I also want to thank Ferraz, Seymour, Farm, Adeniro Adeluola, the engineering units of the University of Lagos, and all other contractors who worked with us. Now, the members of the Department of Pharmaceutics and Pharmaceutical Technology, Professor Bio Silva, Professor Cecilia Iguilu, Dr. C.P. Azubike, Dr. Oloma Obanyukoma. Thank you very much for the technical inputs. These core people gave us technical inputs. They were part of the reading stage after we had initially got the grants, because we were asked to go back, read, rewrite, and I took up countless hours of their time, and not once did any of them complain, not once. Thank you very much. I thank all the academic staff in the Department of Pharmaceutics and Pharmaceutical Technology. I thank the technical staff, non-technical staff, cleaning staff. I appreciate you. I don't know if Iyabolu is here. Before she fell sick, she would clean my office. When we walk over the weekends, she would ask what is going on. I thank her. Then, I don't know if Engineer Lovett is in the hall. I want to thank Engineer Lovett Ahigbe. She is the project manager on these grants. It would not be possible for us to have this facility without that lady. There were months that we worked 7 days a week, and she was on ground. I am deeply indebted to her. I don't know if Mr. Hosanna Anebena is here. Mr. Hosanna, in fact, I am very also indebted to Mr. Hosanna, Mr. Peter Odusoya, Mrs. Amina Terifolami, Mr. Chukuma Ilomuanya, who has written up all our security SOPs, Mr. Aminu Taufik. I listed him under the staff of the Faculty of Pharmacy because that's how we now look at him, Pozi. I thank all these people for the work they've done. I thank all these people for the work they've done. When we talk about the GMP, it's not just the structure. There is a lot of paperwork that goes into it, and paperwork is also manpower. So I thank you for all the work they've put in. Ray Rubio, specifically for all the trainings. He's our teacher. He's an amazing teacher, even if he's hard on us sometimes. But he's an amazing teacher. We're learning a lot from him, and we are very fortunate to be trained by him. He currently countersigns all our SOPs and he's our master trainer. I thank you for your patience, Ray, with our team. It's a huge privilege to work with you. And then I want to specially thank the MD CEO of White Gold Pharmacy, Nigeria Limited, for his invaluable support of everything that concerns my person and concerns my work. The MD White Gold Pharmacy Limited is Mr. Chukwuemeka Ilomuanya. I'm very indebted to you. Without you, there will be no GMP. Because the amount of time that I take to write, sometimes he actually reminds me to go to bed. He has done school runs for the past 3 years to give me time to do my research. Thank you. I thank the planning committee for this program. Chairman Planning Committee, Dr. Kehinde Salako, and our media partners, CEO Africa, for planning this seminar. Finally, I want to thank the university community for being there to witness the commissioning of the GMP facility. In essence, to witness the commissioning of my dreams, and I hope the dreams of the students that are here, and the inauguration of our departmental annual seminar. I count on your continued support for years to come. Thank you very much.
Again, another round of applause for the fundee, Dr. Margaret Ilomuanya. Thank you very much. Since we started with prayer, let's close with prayer. Let's invite Dr. Bukola Oseni to close us in prayer.
Thank you. Let us pray. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, we thank Almighty Allah for a successful event. We pray for the members of staff and management of the Department of Pharmaceutical and Pharmaceutical Technology, the Faculty of Pharmacy, University of Lagos at large. We pray for the members. We pray that you continue to guide them and strengthen them towards the upliftment of the institution. We pray for our students. We pray that you continue to guide them so that they can excel. We pray for our country, Nigeria, the leaders and the citizens. We pray that you continue to guide us towards a better country. We also pray for everybody in this gathering. We pray for our funders. We pray for all attendees. We pray that you continue to bless us and grant us safe journey back to our various destinations. In all, we pray that you grant us good in this world and the hereafter. Amen.